What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Cincinnati Reds Daily. We have a blowout of a football game today. I figured we would go live and, just talk about some of the most recent headlines. And most of all, the Ellie headlines. I want to talk about that a little bit. I tweeted some stuff out, I wrote an article. Um, yeah. So we'll wait till some people jump in here and then I'll kind of get started on some of the Ellie, my thoughts on the Ellie news. Um, there's been some rumblings about some trades. We'll see what all goes down. But anyway, just wanted to hop in here because the football game, the NFL playoffs have been amazing so far. And tonight's game was a dud. The Seattle Seahawks are giving it to the 49ers. So I figured I'd come on here and we could talk some Reds baseball. All right. So we have enough of you in here. We'll go ahead and get started. Listen, it was reported on Friday night from C. Trent from The Athletic that Elly De La Cruz turned down an offer that would have been the largest in franchise history. Now, it's important to note that there the numbers, it wasn't mentioned what the offer actually was. So who knows what that number actually was, but to me, the fact that they said, "Hey," Nick Cross specifically said it in the article. I'm going to read it just so I'm not butchering this. He said, "We made Ellie an offer that would have made him the highest paid Red ever." And then he went on to say, "That's not where he is, and you respect that. It's their career. You keep going and keep working on what you can do today." So again, I think it's important to say that Cross said he worded that as a way, and I know Crawl's not great with the media. I know he's not great with the media, but he worded that in a way that seems to be, hey, we offered him more than Joey Votto. Well, guess what? Joey Votto was in 2012. It's 2026. Um, the guys that are making that was about 22 million a year, I believe, for what Votto accepted. And I get he's still in pre-arbitration. So like Bobby Witt agreed to a 11-year, $288 million deal last year, I believe, or sometime. So, but listen, that was probably a bad deal for Bobby Witt to agree to if he just wanted to truly get the most money. Now you might counter and say, well, if he wanted to be a Red, he would accept that, which yeah, I get, but a lot of people aren't going to turn down hundreds of millions of dollars because if Ellie truly wants to hit the free agent market, also his agent Scott Boras, he's going to get probably $500 million or more. Kyle Tucker just got $60 million a year from the Dodgers. If Ellie keeps progressing to what he can be, he's going to be better than Kyle Tucker. Maybe you'll watch this and say I'm crazy for that, but I think Ellie's going to get a ridiculous contract, and I'm not mad at Ellie at this. I think it would have been awesome if he accepted a deal like that. I just don't understand. I also don't think the Reds can be in that kind of position to offer 500 plus $1 million. I don't know. Maybe they can be, but to me that probably doesn't make sense. So I kind of understand both sides of the fence on here. But what I don't understand is why talk about this? Why mention this a year later? It hasn't been talked about for 12 months. And now all of a sudden, hey, now we're going to talk about it. Because all this does, this is where it irritates me a little bit. Who benefits from saying this? The only people that could possibly benefit, who they think would benefit, is the Reds, because they say, "Hey, at least we tried. We offered him the largest contract in franchise history." Um, and again, they didn't put the number out there. They just said largest contract in franchise history. So that's where it gets a little bit irritating to me. But again, I do understand both sides. So it doesn't. It. I just should say this as what I'm gonna do. I'm a fan. Um, as fans, I think we just gotta enjoy Ellie while he's a Red. It's it's unlikely to me that they're gonna agree on an extension. He's probably gonna go to free agency, but he's a Red. He's signed through 2029. Will he probably be traded at some point? The Reds should probably trade him at some point if they want to get the most they can out of him, whether that's in 2027, whether that's in 2028. I mean, we might not even have a season in 2027. So who knows that what comes with that. But again, I don't think it's worth getting all worked up about. You have him this year. You should have him next year. Have him at least some 2028 probably. Maybe you trade him at like the deadline of 28, but just enjoy him while you have him. That's what I'm going to say. And I just again, I see both sides. Um I see what the Reds are saying, but I don't understand why they would come out and say that now because it does no good for your young superstar. You're coming out and basically saying, "Oh, we tried to extend him, um, and he didn't accept," right before the season starts. So that's the part that irritates me a little bit. And the last thing I'll say on that front is that's kind of what they do. Bob Nightingale came out and said after Jeff Passan already said the Reds were not willing to match the offer for Kyle Schwarber. After the fact, Bob Nightingale all of a sudden comes out and says, "Oh, the Reds were willing to match," um, which to me, again, this is my opinion. I don't have facts. I don't have sources. But to me, who who benefits from all of a sudden going back and them saying, "Hey," telling Nightingale, who used to be a Reds guy, "Hey, we were willing to match." I still believe passing to this day that the Reds were not willing to match, but who knows if Kyle Schwarber would have came here anyway. But again, those are instances that keep happening that it feels like they put stuff out in the media to try to win fans over. And it's like, we're not stupid. Like, it's saying we offered him the largest contract in history, but not giving out numbers is ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. So, if anyone has any questions, I'll try to get to some of the comments. I have 3 or 4 things I want to talk about. Gonna go through all that and then I'll try to read some of the chat. Appreciate you guys being here. Like I said, the NFL game was a blowout, so I figured we'd come up on here and hop on and talk some Reds baseball on a Saturday night. Elly, while we're on the topic of Elly, he originally said a couple months ago, I believe, maybe last month, that he was going to play in the World Baseball Classic for the Dominican Republic. And apparently he's not going to play now. Mark Sheldon posted this on Blue Sky yesterday. He said Elly De La Cruz says he will not be playing in the World Baseball Classic for the Dominican Republic. The decision was made in conjunction with the Reds because he is coming off of last year's quad injury. So if you don't remember, obviously Elly had a crazy down year in the second half last year. He was awesome in the first half, made the All-Star game. I'm going to read you his splits from the first half and the second half. In the first half of the season, De La Cruz was absolutely awesome. He had his slash 284, 359, 495 with 39 extra base hits and 25 stolen bases. In the second half, he struggled big time, slashing just 236, 303, 363 with 21 extra base hits and 12 stolen bases. So, he struggled big time in the second half. And then in November, if some of you probably, most of you probably know, Reds president of baseball operations Nick Cross said De La Cruz was dealing with a partially torn quad in the second half of the season. Here's the exact quote that Cross said. Toward the end of July, he was dealing with a partially torn quad. He's been rehabbing. He was at the ballpark today. He's been rehabbing this whole offseason. To his credit, he played every day. He tried to grind through it. He tried to play through it. So as much as Elly probably wanted to play and support his country, it was probably a smart decision for the Reds to be like, "Hey, man, let's pump the brakes here. We need you. You're the superstar on our team. We need you to be healthy for spring training. We need you to be healthy for the season." I don't fault the Reds at all for this. Obviously, would it have been cool for to see Elly out there playing in the World Baseball Classic? Yeah, it would have been cool to see that. But I'd rather not see that and just have him healthy going into the season. Hunter Green also said he was invited to play in the World Baseball Classic, and he was like, "I just want to focus on the season." So I kind of like that. I kind of like that. Listen, focuses on the Reds. As cool as it would be to see him play, it would be a disaster if they played in that and got hurt. So that's where I'll go with that. All right. There was another report tonight that said It was Ken Rosenthal, I believe. Actually, it came out last night. He said teams continue to inquire about the Reds starting pitching. He also added Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, and Andrew Abbott are believed to be unavailable. Here's the quote from the article. To trade one of those starters or even Brady Singer, whose trade value is the lowest as a pitcher, earning 12.75 million and entering his final season of club control, the Reds almost certainly would need a major league ready starter in return. And they still want more offense too. The Reds pitching depth, obviously, right now is a huge strength. That's the strength of their team. They've done a great job with the bullpen. Their starting staff was already a strength, but the Reds need offense. And you lost Gavin Lux, who obviously wasn't great last year, but he had a 102 WRC plus, which was just above average. You lost Austin Hayes. You haven't signed Miguel Andujar back yet. You had a lot of guys that were hitting last year on the team, and that all of a sudden aren't here anymore. The offense is looking pretty bleak unless you're counting on guys like Matt McClain and really turn around as Sal Stewart continue to do what he did last year, and just a bunch of guys taking big steps. You're playing the hope game, and it feels like the Reds. I understand you feel like you can never have too much pitching because we saw it last year. We thought you'd have Rhett Lauder in there, and then Lauder never pitched a single inning for the Reds last year. At the end, the Reds had to trade for Zach Littell at the trade deadline because you had to. They ran out of pitching essentially. So, like once you have like enough pitching, you can always have more. Pitchers get hurt constantly, So I get it. I truly do get what they're saying, but at the same time, like I think you just got to bite the bullet. You need offense. You can't win every game 2-1. You can't win every game 3-2. Like you can't win all these games like that. There's too many good offenses out there that they hit good pitching. So to me, someone like Brady Singer, as much as I like Brady Singer, he's on the last year of his contract. He's owed like $12 million. Make a deal if it makes you acquire a bat. And it's hard to say exactly just make a deal, I guess, because you don't know what the offers are in return. But if you can get an impact bat from dealing somebody, do it. I probably wouldn't want to trade Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, or Andrew Abbott, but if they were getting someone big back in return, like a Jaron Duran, Wilyer Abreu, someone like that from the Red Sox, I'd think about it. But anyway, that's kind of the latest report on, hey, there's still plenty of teams calling the Reds about pitching. Obviously, the Reds want a bat, but they also say they want a major league starter in return, which I really don't understand that. Why would a team call about a starter if they're going to trade a starter back? That doesn't make a lot of sense. But again, they just seem very reluctant to trade starting pitching. All right, and the last one here, and then I'll read some of the comments, and I'll, if anyone has questions, whatever, I'll go through some of these. At Reds Fest over the weekend, the Reds announced the 2025 team award winners. I'll run through them here. Emilio Pagan is known for being a fantastic teammate. He's fully embraced Cincinnati in the 2 years he's been a Red. He won the Joe Nuxall Good Guy Award for the team. I think that's just, hey, whoever's an awesome dude, we're gonna give you that. So, yeah, I don't know, man. That's a cool thing for Pagan. He obviously re-signed with the Reds. He loves Cincinnati, so good for Emilio Pagan. Andrew Abbott was named the Johnny Vandermeer Outstanding Pitcher, as well as earning the Ernie Lombardi Team MVP Award. In 29 starts for the Reds last season, Abbott went 10-7 with an ERA of 2.87, a WHIP of 1.147, and 149 strikeouts and 166 in the third innings. He was named a first-time All-Star and is well-deserving of those two awards. I think if you would have said Andrew Abbott was going to win the Team MVP Award before last season, I think we all thought he was going to be pretty good. But Team MVP, I would have said that's pretty crazy. So really cool for Andrew Abbott. Abbott's obviously an awesome dude. Before I keep going, shout out to Michael Rolfe. Yeah, super chat. Appreciate you, Michael Rolfe. That's amazing. He says, I'm in my 30s. Why, when I go watch a live YouTube show, do I get iPhone casino app ads? Also, do it live. I don't know. Is that on this feed? Is that what you're getting on this YouTube feed? I don't know how the ads work. I think I just turn them on and I don't see them on my end. So I don't know what you guys see. So I don't have an answer for you, but appreciate the super chat. Let's see. Chase Burns was named the team's minor league pitcher of the year. Um, Obviously, Chase Burns was picked number 2 overall. Absolutely dominated the minor leagues last season. He only made 13 starts before getting up to the big leagues. He had a 1.9 ERA, a .773 WHIP, and 89 strikeouts in 66 innings. He pitched so well, the Reds decided to call him up to the big leagues, where he appeared in 13 games and 8 starts. 2 more here. Alfredo Duno was named the team's minor league hitter of the year. Duno's still just 20 years old. He spent the whole season in low A Daytona, where he slashed 287, 430, 518 with 52 extra base hits, including 18 home runs. Listen, an on-base percentage of 430, the dude just gets on base. He just gets on base. And he has ridiculous power. He's still only 20 years old. I know everybody's comp is somebody like Salvador Perez, because that's kind of what he looks like. But yeah, Alfredo Duno, high hopes for him. High hopes for him. Sal Stewart was named the organization's minor league MVP. He's 22 years old. Obviously, everybody knows Sal Stewart now. Played in 118 games between Double-A Chattanooga and Triple-A Louisville last season before forcing his way to the Reds. In 118 minor league games last year, he slashed 309, 383, 524 with 54 extra base hits. In 18 games with the Reds, he slashed 255, 293, 545 with 5 home runs. So just to recap, Joe Nuxall, Good Guy Award, Emilio Pagan. Andrew Abbott won the Johnny Vandermeer Outstanding Pitcher, and he won the Ernie Lombardi Team MVP Award. Chase Burns won Minor League Pitcher of the Year. Alfredo Duno won Minor League Hitter of the Year, and Sal Stewart won Minor League Player of the Year. So there's kind of all the awards. All right, let me get to some of these comments. Those are kind of the 3 big things I wanted to hit on. Obviously, you could talk about Elly all day long, but I don't know. I don't want to berate the point. All right, let's see here. Would they trade Elly after the lockout? I don't know what's going to happen in 2027. I truly don't. I don't know what to expect. I do think there will most likely be not a lot of baseball played in 2027. It seems to be trending that way, but I don't know what they're going to agree to, what they won't agree to. I don't know. They did the same thing with Hunter Green too. He didn't come back fast enough for their liking, so they badmouth him. Yeah, the Hunter Green thing. I think I did a YouTube video on that, so I won't go into too much detail. But Mark Sheldon, the Reds beat writer, doesn't just put stuff out like that from his own. He doesn't just think, oh, something's happening, and put it out there. He has sources that he talks to with the Reds, and from his conversations that he talked to with the people in the organization, he came to the conclusion that Hunter Green wasn't coming back fast enough. And he put that out there. And yeah, so clearly someone in the organization told Mark Sheldon something along those lines, and that's where that happened. So yeah, I don't know why they do it. I don't know why they do this to their stars. It's just ridiculous. Did a rift happen between Elly and the front office ownership after he rejected the offer? I doubt it. I'm guessing it was cool. Again, this happened last spring. This didn't happen this spring. So this is why I don't understand, is that this happened last year, and Nick Kroll brought it up now. So it just doesn't make sense why they would talk about that now to me, but whatever. I guess that's what they're going to do. So, but no, I doubt a rift happened. It's pretty normal for teams and players to go back and forth in contract extensions, that type of thing. He played all 162 games last year, so it's not like they benched him or anything for that. So I think it was probably cool on both sides. With the Dodgers having a bunch of outfielders, I like to go and see them trade for Ryan Ward. I don't know much about Ryan Ward, but I'll look into it. Thank you for the comment. They just signed an international kid, approximately $3 million, and yet they're still only playing Elly De La Cruz salary, 26 estimated. Why would he want to stay in Cincinnati? Yeah, I mean, it's not. It's pretty normal for to have the guys play on their normal salary, like you said, unless they extend him. And it's clearly they tried to extend him, just not for what he's wanting to. Again, he's a Scott Boras client, and Boras takes almost all of his players to free agency. So that's that kind of sucks. Singer for Colby Thomas from the A's. Yeah, I mean, anyone that can hit, honestly, like I'm to the point, like, give me someone that can hit. I don't know a ton about Colby Thomas. Let's see, look up his stats. Still only 24 years old, 684 OPS in 49 games last year. I assume he was one of their top prospects. But yeah, I'm to the point, like, just give us a bat. Just give us a bat. Ryan Ward hit 36 homers in the minors last year. That's pretty good. I do think the Reds have Michael Toglia. Um, I said Toglia last time, and I think the G's like silent. Um, he has potential. He swings and misses a ton. CES, I don't know if he's ever going to get it together. The Reds have some guys with power, but I don't think they're going to get much playing time. With how we've seen Valleca and Terry Francona use the lineup, but we'll see. What was Elly's offer? They didn't say what the offer was. They simply just said it was the largest in franchise history, which again, if you're going to come out and say that to me, just say what the offer was, because now it could have been 230 million and you say, oh, it was the largest offer ever. And like, that's not a offer that Elly should ever take. So Elly should cost approximately 3 times what Joey Votto's deal is worth. If the Reds fans don't expect or understand that, and if the front office doesn't understand that, that is unfortunate. Michael Ross says, yeah, I'm totally with you, Michael. I legitimately, and you could, like, I legitimately think Elly could get like a Juan Soto type deal. When he's good and he's far from a finished product, he hits home runs. He steals bases. Like, he is a high WAR player, and he's an electric player. I don't know. He's not only good on the field, but like, he is he is someone a team wants to market, that can market, especially if he goes to a team like LA or New York. So I'm with you. I think Elly's going to get a ridiculous deal in free agency. So it would have been crazy. It would have been crazy if he decided to accept that offer. We would have loved it, but I mean, it just wasn't going to happen at that. John says, I'm worried that Sal's weight loss will result in a lower power output. I was wondering about that a little bit, but those guys are still strong. I think he'll be fine. But we'll see. I don't know that for sure. I do think it'll give him some more defensive flexibility, which is good. I don't think the Reds should just stick him at DH and be like, you're a DH. Because then if you do that, you're kind of stuck with that. He's still a kid. Try to let him get good at, a couple positions, first, third. Maybe he can play second now that he's lost some weight. So we'll see. Michael Roth says, also, I'll be trying the Atlanta Braves Matt McLain right now. 7 years, $50 million. That deal that Ozzie Albies accepted, that was crazy. That was a crazy deal. I don't know that we'll see many guys take that. I don't think McLain would even take that now, even after his struggle of a season last year. But yeah, those kind of deals are the teams that small market teams like the Reds should make all day long. Elly is a Scott Boras player. Boras is notorious for always going to free agency to drive bidding wars. Yep, exactly right. No, I don't have anything to add on that. That's what Boras does. I would trade Elly for a Mookie and Freddie deal. What was Elly's offer? Again, they didn't say what his offer was. It was just highest. They just said highest in franchise history. Let's see. Nick Kroll said they offered more than they offered Votto in 2009 or 2010 for Elly. Gas was $1.79 in 2009. Now it's $3.79. Read the room, Kroll. He's terrible at reading the room. I don't know what it is, but I will say this, as someone who writes and makes a little bit of money from writing about the Reds, every time he speaks, we got something to write about, because he doesn't do the small talk of like, I don't know. He does a little bit, but he always says something that was like, why did he say that? So they did this with Matt last year, and he turned it down. Better start figuring out the best time to trade Elly, because the Reds have a 0% chance of signing him. I agree. I truly think if he's through team control through 2029, at the 2028 deadline, do it. A team will still pay a ton for a year and a half of Elly De La Cruz. I truly think that you'll get a ton from him for a year and a half. Um, and then you still have 2.5 more years of him. So that's probably what I would be looking at to trade him, which is sucks as being a small market team. You just have to be like, we have to. Like, what if the Reds are like first in the division that year? It's like, what do you do? I don't know. I don't know. I guess we'll worry about but that again, we'll just worry about that when it happens. At this point, if they were going to dig out the money for Schwarber and then spend it all on Gino for DH, problem solved. The Schwarber money disappeared. If another free agent comes up from Middletown, it'll be back. Would you do a Lodolo package for Mayo and Beavers in Baltimore? I do like Mayo. I don't know much about Beavers. Listen, I'm bad at following other teams. I watch the Reds like religiously, like every game, and then that's pretty much it. Like I don't really watch much of the league, random other games unless they're playing the Reds. Like I watch highlights, here and there, but I'm bad about keeping up with the rest of the league. I think it's just because I'm so locked in on the Reds and I write about them all the time. So I'd have to look at it. I'll try to look at them after I get off here and see if I would do something like that. Lodolo, I'm a little hesitant on, but also I feel like you'd be trading Lodolo at his highest. He's a guy you worry a little bit about how often you can get a lot of innings out of. He always has those blister issues. He always has injury problems. So you could argue with how good he pitched last year and how much he pitched that you'd be trading him at kind of his highest point. John says you need to do fantasy baseball. I've done it, John. And I'm in a league. I'm in one league, but you don't have to set your lineup. Like everyone on your team, it just automatically takes their stats every day. The ones where you have to set your lineup, I'm like setting your lineup for 162 days a year. I don't know. That's a lot for me. I just I don't know. I'd always like halfway through the seasons stop forgetting my lineup or get disinterested. I think it's just because like you'd play for, I don't know, $100 or something, and then it's 162 games. You got to pay attention. So I just never got into it. Like I'd get into like fantasy football as much. So I would trade Julian Aguilar and Chase Petty for Riley Green from Detroit. That seems like a good deal, but I doubt let me just look up what Riley Green's done lately. Riley Green, 806 OPS, 827 OPS last year. Yeah, I don't think the Tigers are doing that deal. I don't think Aguilar has a ton of trade value out there, especially coming off of Tommy John surgery. Even when he's healthy, I think he's a fifth starter at best. I like Julian Aguilar, but he's probably like a Carson Spires type of guy. And Chase Petty is coming off the worst year he's had. I don't think that package gets somebody like Riley Green back. If it does, you would just do that in a heartbeat. What's it going to take trade wise to get a 30 home run, 100 RBI caliber hitter? I don't know. I don't think we're getting that. I don't even know what it would take. At least someone like Lodolo at the minimum. You'd maybe be talking more than that. I don't even know what a guy like Rhett Lauder's value would be because, again, he didn't pitch last year. So it's really hard to tell. That's what's so hard about like judging these trades and stuff and saying go do the trade because you don't know what teams are offering. So who is your most interesting player to watch in spring training? Mine is Brandon Williamson or Hector Rodriguez. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how Hector Rodriguez does against major league pitching. He chases a lot, but he has elite like bat to ball skills. So we'll see. He does scare me a little bit with how much he chases, kind of like CES like a little bit, but hopefully we'll see how he does. Brandon Williamson, yeah, I think Brandon Williamson's kind of like a forgotten guy, right? Like he was also out all last year, and the Reds have 6 guys going in fighting for rotation spots without him. So that's a fun one. I'll say I'm really excited to see how Matt McLain does this year, but I don't know if I'm excited to watch him in spring training as much. I think he can rip in spring training. I'll be like, okay, I want to see it in the regular season. Spring training. Who's somebody that would love to see? I don't know. I love spring training. I love watching the young guys, even though they're not even on like the major league roster, but they get to play some in like garbage time. Like Alfredo Duno is one of my favorite guys to watch. I like um, Cam Collier. I like watching Jay Allen the second. He's a prospect, doesn't get a lot of love, but he's fun to watch. Good question. Michael Rolfe says, more faith in the Bengals or the Reds? I have more faith in the Cyclones. Rolfe, I'm actually a Titans fan, believe it or not. My older brother and my dad were Browns fans, and I clearly didn't want to be a Browns fan, and I didn't really have a team. And when I was 6 years old, I think, that Titans Rams Super Bowl where the Titans guy reached it out the goal line. I think I just liked their colors when I was a 6-year-old kid, and I was like, I'm a Titans fan. So the last 2 seasons being a Titans fan, brutal. At least we got the number 1 pick last year, and I was like, I can watch Cam Ward and just hope for the future. But this year was pretty brutal as well. So I'm just trying to figure out who the Titans are going to hire for a coach. So I don't know. I would say who's better at their job, Nick Craw, Duke Tobin. I don't follow the Bengals enough. I see the Twitter. I see what people on Twitter say about them. I do think I will say this. I am hard on Nick Craw and the Reds ownership, I think. But I also think I'm pretty fair. Like I think Craw catches a lot of heat from but I think a lot of his hands are tied a lot because of what they're willing to spend. But also then you have to look at deals like Jamer Candelario, Mike Moustakis, and like those are deals that you can't blame money because he gave them the money. So you have to hit on those type of deals, and he's missed a lot of them. Shogo Akiyama, another one. I also saw Lodolo at Reds Fest Q&A panel yesterday. He talked about new blister prevention tactics. He isn't just accepting blisters being a thing. Could have a fix, not a problem. I hope so. I hope so. I mean, in 3 or 4 years, we've never seen a guy talk about blisters so much. Every time he walks off the mound, you're like, oh, no. Oh, no. We know it's a blister, buddy. And I will say this about blisters because this is funny. Every time Lodolo gets a blister, I see it. I see the Twitter people on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. They sit there and say, "Oh, Nick Lodolo is so soft, he can't pitch with a blister." For anyone that's ever pitched, I have a light like going out above me. I don't know if it's like there's an angel up there or what, but something's happened with the light. Anyway, but anyone that's ever trying to throw a baseball with a blister, how painful it is, let alone if you're trying to throw it 95 mile per hour or spin it like Lodolo spins that curveball, it's not soft. You can't pitch with blisters. Anyway, just a rant there. Trade CES Will Benson, Cam Collier for Kyle Stowers. Again, I don't think that gets it done. Like CS, I don't think has much trade value. He was somewhat of a top Reds prospect a couple years ago. Now, last 2 years, he's showed no value. Will Benson, I don't think he has a ton of trade value. He's good, solid. I hope he gets to play a lot more this year and does good. Collier has value, but even Collier, like he's a first baseman right now, basically, who hasn't hit for a lot of power. So I don't know what other teams think about Collier. And Stowers is really good. So actually, I just had Dane Myers on. If you haven't watched, go watch the Dane Myers interview. He said Kyle Stowers was I don't know if it's Stowers or Stowers, but whatever. He said he was his favorite teammate in Miami. So good guy. I want your Titans defensive line in Cincinnati. Yeah. The defensive line was good. Jeffrey Simmons is the dog. I think Lindsey Patterson said she wanted Jeffrey Simmons, and I said, okay, cool. We'll take either Jamar Chase or Joe Burrow for Jeffrey Simmons. So CS and Benson have next to zero trade value. Yeah, I don't think they have a lot of trade value. I agree. Michael Rolfe says Blister Boy. New nickname, Mr. Blister. Impossible to throw anything but a straight fastball with a blister. Yeah, exactly. What do you expect from Chase Burns this year? Will he have a learning curve or come out and rock? That's a good question. I think Chase Burns is going to be really good. And in fact, Chase Burns was really good last year. If you look at his overall stats, hold on, let me pull up Fangraphs. I know it's really good podcasting when I pause to look up stats. But if you look up what Burns did last year, overall his numbers weren't amazing. He had an ERA of 4.57 in 43 and a third innings. But that's with the Boston Red Sox game where he got one out and gave up 5 runs, 7 runs, 5 earned, where he was tipping his pitches apparently. So that raised the ERA substantially. Other than that, he was pretty decent. Um, so I think Burns is only going to get better. Yeah, I mean, you remember Hunter Green when Hunter Green first came up, like he got hit around a little bit. Even if you have nasty stuff, you're gonna get hit around a little bit. But you kinda learn, and yeah, you kinda learn and um, get better. So I think Chase Burns is only going to get a lot better. I think the Reds with Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, Andrew Abbott, and Chase Burns, that's a pretty sick top four. Which is why I'm saying, dude, just go get a bat. This team has ridiculous potential. The pitching staff's really good. The front office, to their credit, they did a good job with the bullpen. Go get a damn bat. So, good question. I watch all your vids. Thank you. Appreciate it. Got to start teaching Lodolo the knuckleball. We need more knuckleball pitchers. Remember, once a year you get to face like Tim Wakefield or R.A. Dickey. Those were always fun. When the Reds would face those guys, I was like, this is cool to watch. Yeah, they never hit them though, I felt like. Um, Knuckleball's like gone. Nobody throws the knuckleball. Remember when Alex Blandino from the Reds was going to go down and try to be a knuckleball pitcher? I don't know what happened to him. A couple years ago, I'd watched a couple of his starts in I think Daytona, um, and he was throwing them to the backstop, and then we never heard from him again. So, yeah, I don't know. Trade prospects you don't want for cash, like Aguiar, Petty, and more to add up to cash to free up room for Chase Burns. You don't. I don't think those prospects don't make enough money that it adds up to anything, though. And if one of them pans out to be something, it's like just to free up cash like that. I don't know if that would maybe be a disaster. Last year, Michael Rolfe, 9.99 super chat. Less Jergens, lotion for Lodolo, and more hand sanitizer. It will dry out his hands and make them tough as hell. I bet Lodolo lifts weights with motorcycle style gloves. I saw somebody that, like Lodolo in the offseason just needs to go like be a construction worker or something, just so he gets like builds his hands to be tougher. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. We've had too much blister talk tonight, but that's hilarious. I miss Jared Fernandez. Disagree. Ultra-active. I noticed all of our right-handed free agent signings had low K rates last year, but soft contact. Do you think this is a pitching philosophy for the Reds? Good question. I don't know. I'd have to dig more into that. Um, I do know when I had Kyle Bodie on, who used to work for the Reds, he kind of hinted that he had a much different pitching philosophy than Derek Johnson. He's obviously high spin rate, throw as hard as you can type of guy. And it seems they differed on some philosophies, which why he was ultimately let go. So maybe I don't know. I don't know. We don't get to talk to Derek Johnson much, so you don't really get to hear about like what his pitching philosophy is. But that's an interesting point. Um, yeah, I don't know. Interesting. I'll have to look up. I have to look up some like history on all the different pitchers they brought in and see if I can figure anything out like that. But I don't hate soft contact's great. Not everyone has to come in and strike out a million guys. Soft contact is great, especially if you can get some double plays out of the bullpen. Come in, in big jams and get. Scott Barlow was great at that last year. Coming in big jam, he struck out a lot of guys. He had this good stuff, but he's great at coming on with guys on base and getting out of big jams. 2 jobs I've had in my life, construction and dentistry. My hands will never blister. Yeah, you're set. You're set after the construction. Um, this would probably be funny, but obviously I'm a golf fan. You can see the golf flags in the back. I I played golf since like high school, and I randomly one of my gloves broke, and I didn't want to buy a new glove, so I just played without a glove. And ever since I played without a glove, and my hands would blister, and I'm the same way. Like now, I never get blisters. I think it's because golf. So if the Reds get Gino or a power bat, they are easily playoff contenders. They are already better than last year, and add to that, Reds heaven, here we come. I feel like I'm actually surprised the Reds over under was 81.5. I saw on FanDuel. I think it was only 78.5 last year, so I guess they're giving more credit than last year, but I feel pretty comfortable that's gonna be over that. I'd be pretty disappointed if the Reds were under 500 this year, but it probably shows that they just don't have confidence in their offense because their pitching staff is ridiculous. I think I've said this before, but I'm not as high on Gino as others are. I love Gino when he was a Red. He was amazing last year in the first half. The second half, he really struggled. Guys who are just big power hitters like that and strike out a lot, I just worry how that ages. But again, Seattle's not a great hitter's park, so maybe that had something to do with it. Maybe coming back to GABP, um, maybe it would work, but I don't know. We'll see. I do love the positive regression potential for the Reds offense this year. My concern is the Reds front office is banking on that. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I completely agree, Rolf. It's like you have Matt McClain. He can't be worse. Spencer Steer started the year with like a bum shoulder. He was running out there with a bum shoulder for a month. Like, I think he's going to be more consistent. Um, who else? You have guys like Noel Marte. Like, hopefully, you get a full season of him. You have a full season of South Stewart. Tyler Stevenson, I think, could have a big bounce back year. But again, like you said, it feels like the front office is thinks the same thing, and they're just hoping on that. But again, there's a month left in the off season, so maybe they'll still go make something happen. We'll see. But it does feel like they're hoping. They're just like, we hope everyone's going to get better. We hope Elly plays like he did the first half last year, not the second half. So I'm with you. I'm with you on that for sure. All right. Well, 41 minutes. We crushed it. We crushed it. Thank you guys all in the chat. Had some fun on here. Better than watching the end of that trash football game tonight. The rest of the NFL playoffs have been great though, so I won't complain too much. But I'm gonna head off here. Thank you guys so much for coming on, talking Reds. Rolf, thank you for the super chats. Appreciate you. Hopefully you guys have a great Sunday, and we'll see you next time. Last couple chats here I'll read before we get off. Imagine Elly, Matt, Will, and others plus Gino, Steer, and Marte's power. I love it. Adam Dunn and Austin Kearns were terrible outfielders, but they could match. This feels like a gigantic opposite. Adam Dunn is one of my favorite Reds players of all time. I think he's one of the most underrated players of all time. He had to play defense, which is why his WAR was so much worse than it was. But yeah, they could mash and it could crush baseballs. And now it's like we have I'm going to say this because he's not on the team anymore, so I don't feel as bad. But like now we're putting Santiago Espinal on the 2-hole for 80 games a year. It's like, what are we doing? But I get that's what we would live with. So that's what we root for. So whatever. But all right, I'm logging off. Thank you guys as always. Appreciate you. We'll see you next time. Go Reds. See ya.